So what will happen next? Each of the 3 consortia will first show a video of one of their 2 pilots, because they all had 2 pilots, but unfortunately there's only time to show one video for them now. Then they have a presentation. 2 will do this via video connection and 1 will be in the studio with me. And afterwards, hopefully we have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience, so you can ask via the chat if you want. We start with the Norwegian, Canadian, Finnish, Dutch consortium called Saga. Then we will hear from Mobile Civitatem from Estonia. And finally, Sensible for Shuttle Consortium from Finland and Spain will take the floor. So, first Saga. It's led by Mobility Forus from Norway, but for this presentation represented by Ian Sachs from Ramble in Finland. Like I said, we have first an introductory video, and that's from the Gjesdal pilot in Norway. After that, we go to Ian. But first, enjoy the video.
This is a marvelous opportunity for a small town or a village like Ålgård and a municipality like Gjesdal to be part of the transforming modern world. So we are really keen on being part of this pilot. Autonomous driving is an important part of the future. So it's very interesting and nice for the municipality of Gjesdal to be, well, some kind of living laboratory where we can test out this particular pilot. I'm pretty sure that both at Gjesdal, in Helsinki, Helmond, Tallinn and Lamia, and of course in London and Berlin as well, we will see autonomous cars like this, because this is a part of the future. I believe that all citizens at Ålgård could benefit from this, but particularly the elderly, because Ålgård is a hilly area, so this gives people the opportunity to take that bus the last mile home.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to Renska and the Fabulous team, and to the keynote speakers. We're really excited to contribute our part to the Fabulous project and to share our experiences. My name is Ian Sachs. I'm a market manager trained in civil engineering and a traffic engineer at Ramble, based in Helsinki. Our team, consortium named Saga, is made up of a group of different companies. We probably didn't know how well selected our name was of Saga when we chose it over 2 years ago, but now we do. It has been a long way since where we started, but it has been full of learning experiences, beneficial to all of our companies. We are led by Mobility Forus, who handled operations and coordination of the team. And then there's a group of supporting companies on the team, Spare Technologies, who brought the on-demand platform, Halligan, who focused on service design and human interactions, the company I work for, Rumble, on the business planning and also on the traffic engineering elements. And then finally, our partners in the Netherlands, Future Mobility Network, who helped us facilitate the approvals and implementation of operations in Helmond. In addition, we had great working relationships with a number of subcontractors at Boreal on the operations side in Norway, Navia, who supplied the vehicles for our activities. And in the Netherlands, we were very pleased to be introduced to Hermes, the local public transport concessionaire, who provided both operators and also integrated with their public transport app. And then finally, Hugsa Shuttle, who owns a shuttle in the Netherlands that has been previously approved for operations and helped us kind of expedite the implementation of the vehicle in the Netherlands. Yeah, so our journey was more like a saga, but it was an exciting and fun one. We got along very well. We learned our strengths, and we leveraged those strengths together for what turned out to be two very successful pilots. And we're really thrilled to have had this experience, got to know each other, and also brought those learnings into other activities. Our solution is different than the other teams. We took a slightly different approach. We didn't develop a proprietary vehicle technology. Instead, we focused on an autonomous platform, which is agnostic to a particular manufacturer, so that multiple manufacturers, multiple vehicles from different places could eventually be plugged into the same platform for on-demand or fixed route services. We see this as the future, the way that cities will be operating their systems. And so we wanted to take this approach and focus a little less on the vehicle technology and a little bit more on the platform and human interaction elements of autonomous operations. The Gjesdal pilot, which is our first pilot, took place in Norway in last summer. It consisted of two Navia shuttles with wonderful names, Gudrun and Gerard. The names are Norwegian and Dutch, so that there was a human element to the vehicles, as well as one Tesla Model S for on-demand services. So effectively, we demonstrate both fixed route operations of the two shuttles and on-demand services, which was we thought a really good way to exercise the full capabilities of the platform that we were testing. The route in Gjesdal was ambitious, perhaps mostly because of elevation changes and the desire to facilitate both downtown activities, that's the loop of the route on the right side of the map, and as well as a perhaps first last mile feeder service activity that reached out into the neighboring residential area. But all in all, it was a nice challenge, and we were happy to say that we were able to successfully implement there. In addition to the two shuttles, as I mentioned, we ran an on-demand service so that participants in this pilot could order the Tesla Model S vehicle for as a kind of taxi service, but in the same platform. There are some key figures from the Gjesdal pilot. Perhaps to me, the most interesting ones were the 91.5% autonomous activity, which just goes to demonstrate that despite the fact that autonomous vehicles still need human stewards at the moment, it is still possible for a majority of the kilometers operated to be autonomous. We ran with nearly 1,600 passengers altogether in Gjesdal, despite the challenges of COVID-19, and also succeeded with 217 journeys in the on-demand service over 50 days. As I said, human aspect of the project was particularly important to our pilots. We surveyed passengers and asked them about their priorities and interests on automation. And as you can see from the two radar maps on the left, the trips were mostly replacing walking or car trips. And we think that these are good results. These demonstrate that people, when they have more options, they choose an option that's most convenient for them, perhaps an uphill ride instead of a walk, or maybe poor weather, or maybe with children along and so forth. All of these are good options to use the shuttle. So the key learnings from Gjesdal were that we definitely see that the smaller shuttles enable efficient transport. And as the transport minister from Finland spoke about earlier this morning, that's absolutely the future of public transport. Perhaps automated mass, high capacity trunk lines supported by feeder services that are more likely going to be smaller shuttles, such as those that we tested. We also think that the fleet improves the passenger experience so that people have more personalized service. The fact of the matter is that the automated vehicle technology is still in its infancy. We still need stewards and people, humans, to operate the vehicles, and we would like to see more advancements in that technology. But we are moving ahead, and that is positive. On-demand autonomous, of course, are an excellent supplement, and we were happy to be able to integrate that into our pilots. And then finally, the transport service information that we integrated to the public transport apps couldn't happen without the excellent collaboration with the local public transport agencies or concessionaires. The Helmand pilot, which is still ongoing through mid-March, consists of a one Navia. It's ambitious with respect to its route, not only because of the distance of the route and the speed of and the posted speed limits on some segments of the route, but also because a significant portion, particularly the portion on the left side of the map, is a shared bicycle and walking path. So as you would expect in a Dutch municipality, lots of bicycling and very important interactions to be evaluated with humans on foot and on bicycle. We had great collaborations in Netherlands as well. In particular, we worked with Breda University and Delft University on passenger experiences, with Fontis Laboratories on the AV performance. And we also did some testing with traffic signals, smart traffic signals, to see how the vehicles interacted with the signals themselves. So I think a nice spread of evaluations to understand human interactions and also how to demonstrate the vehicle's location on mapping. But perhaps we could say that the key learning from the experience in the Netherlands is that the exemption process is significantly more challenging there. We've wrote some notes here to kind of explain that a little bit more. But I think the key takeaway is that success in the pilot in Helmand in the Netherlands was only possible through real open, flexible cooperation between all the stakeholders, including RDW, the Dutch Transport Authority, as well as our partners. So it was that collaboration and cooperation and open-mindedness that made us successful, and we're really proud of that. So about commercialization and next steps, again, as I said in the beginning, our team was a little bit different than the others. We were a mix of different companies with objectives, but together we worked quite well. But we have learned from these experiences and expect to apply these experiences moving forward. And in fact, we have already done so in plenty of examples. For example, our partner Spare is already collaborating on another project on-demand service with EasyMile in Sweden. Halogen has been applying their experiences with other smart mobility projects in Norway. Mobility for Us has really taken some major strides forward. They've even within the FABULOS project, they were able to collaborate with one of the other teams with Sensible 4 to get their pilot operating in Norway. And they're working with the Columbus municipality to operate Navia vehicles there. They have also developed a so-called test arena, which allows them, but also other parties who are interested in deploying automated vehicles in Norway to go through the the testing process in a controlled environment. So that's really exciting. And then finally, the company I work for at Rumble, we have been able to leverage our experiences in a number of different city master plans that we have been working on with our clients in countries all around the world. So that's our summary, and we're really happy to take questions. And it's a real pleasure, like I said, to be part of this conference. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks so much, Ian. Thank you. That was really a good summary. It's not easy to summarize all this work of 3 years and all the piloting in such a short period of time. I know that. It's really amazing to me that you managed to pull off these 2 pilots, really different pilots as well, within the project lifetime during this COVID pandemic. It's been a challenging process, but it's amazing that you made it. So well done. We'll speak a bit more about technical aspects, among others, with your team, some other team members of yours in the afternoon session. Also on regulatory barriers that you mentioned in your presentation. We will speak with the municipality of Helmond in the afternoon. And can you let me see if we have any questions from the audience? Can you say, Ian, what do you think? What would you say that is the biggest achievement of Saga, if you would have to kind of summarize it?
I think our greatest achievement was the ability to collaborate in all kinds of conditions. Of course, we were all challenged with COVID-19. That makes it very difficult to operate a public transport system. But despite that, and despite other challenges along the way, we were able to leverage those capabilities from the different members of the team and get the 2 pilots running. And I think that what we have learned from it is a nice balance between the technological capabilities of the vehicles, as well as some of the kind of practical challenges of getting pilots operating in municipal contexts where there are, of course, other higher levels of government involved. And then finally, the human aspects, how people react to the vehicles, what type of comfort level people feel with the vehicles. All these things kind of combine together. So it's difficult to point out one thing specifically. I would say that overall it was more the collaborations that made the pilot a success.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's clear. And now that you mentioned the reactions of the people, we'll get back to that a little bit also in the next session. The whole kind of user acceptance, because within Fabulous we did some studies. We had some surveys on that as well. So a bit more on that later. And actually, the people who live in the Netherlands are lucky because the Helmond pilot is still ongoing for another few weeks, right? So it's yes. Can people jump in, or can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. They can jump in. Of course, when the weather's not freezing and the vehicle is able to operate. We have had some unexpected weather challenges recently as well. But yes, the vehicle is still operating, and it will operate till mid-March. And it is possible to register and get involved. There are, of course, also some limitations due to proximity and COVID-19 restrictions. But all in all, I think the takeaway here is that yes, you can get on the shuttle bus and experience it if you'd like to.
Yeah, but be in touch beforehand with the team so that you that there's some registration system. Yeah. Hey, really good. Then I think that we wrap it up. I don't see that there's would be any other questions on the chat at the moment. I think we've had a good introduction and a picture of what you've been doing. We will surely hear more about the results still in the next months as well, and also when some of the research work that you mentioned will be finished and published, then of course we will inform the world about that as well, as will you, I'm sure. So any last comments from you, Ian, or do we say goodbye?
Well, the only thing I didn't mention yet is that in our collaborations, it's also been a great experience with you, Renska, and the fabulous team. We wouldn't have been able to succeed without your support either. And so I'd like to just take this moment publicly to thank you and your team for all the great work. It's been nice collaborating.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the feeling is mutual. It's been an amazing project. I can say that what's quite special about these very long 3-year projects, that often there's people leaving along the way and staff is changing and teams are changing, but that hasn't happened in this project. So we've had from start to end, we've worked with the same team, the same group of procurers. We've worked with you and your colleagues from start to end, and so you get to know each other, and it feels like really a team effort. So I'm also proud on your behalf of the the pilots that you implemented, and likewise. Hey, thanks very much, Ian. We'll speak to your colleagues after lunch, and now we move to the next consortium. So up next, we have Mobile Civitatem. That's led by Modern Mobility from Estonia. It's here represented by Pirkko Konsa. And as we did with the previous speakers, we have first an introductory video of the Tallinn pilot that took place in Estonia last summer. And then you will meet Pirkko. So enjoy.
We as a business campus are growing very fast. We have 36 hectares of land, and we have developed 1/3 of this area. So if we take today, then every day 12,000 people are coming here, and we hope that more and more they are coming without cars. So connection with public transport and big logistical hubs with such kind of self-driving solutions is beneficial for us. All people who actually get this fast transportation, very demand-based, are getting benefits from it. But in our campus, all these people who are living here, they have very easy access to airport or to the tram, and people who are working here, so business travelers will benefit definitely. I believe in the future the must in the cities and in the countries and between the countries actually, so that you can buy a daily ticket or a monthly ticket, and you can use different transportation solutions like bus or robot bus or electrical bikes. So you don't need to have a car, but you have flexible system.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pirkko Konsa, and I'm a CAO of Modern Mobility. And I'm really happy to introduce you our consortia and how we did do in our 2 pilots. First, I would like to tell more about who belong to our consortia. First of all, Modern Mobility. It is a startup who is developing new digital solutions for providing services of mobility services for modern environments. Then we have in our consortium Auvetech, who is also a startup. and it has spinned out from collaboration projects with Tallinn Technical University and is developing their own autonomous vehicle. And then we have TalTech, who has been supporting us in testing and integrating various technical solutions into our service. And the last consortium member is Fleet Complete, who has provided with us software for monitoring fleet and collecting various data. What is problem we try to solve with our solution? I think we all know that if we want to have sustainable transport, we need to solve the last or a first mile problem. And the problem with the public transport nowadays is that if we sit in a car and we start to drive our first mile, then probably we will drive all the miles what we need to commute in our daily movements. So our goal during this project was develop a turnkey solution which could be provided to local public transport organizations or then local municipalities to offer such last mile service as a part of public transport network. We tested various technologies, and there are kind of main four components. First, mobility management system, of course, autonomous shuttles, then operations center for operating autonomous vehicles. And we also, during this project, tested a concept of smart mobility hub. What is mobility management system, to give a little bit more detail, because probably it is more clear what is autonomous shuttle. But what mobility management system does is it is for setting up the service. You can define the route, you can define the scheduler, you can organize the operations. And also it helps to exchange information between various parts of the system. What is the status of vehicles, to give the information to end users, to give the information to bus stops, or also to collect information from these applications. This framework of FABULOS was organized in 3 phases, and I think every phase for us was quite a interesting learning. When we applied for this program in the first phase, I think the biggest learning was that the kind of overall goals of the program were quite ambitious. And it was clear that we need to choose what kind of goals we are able to deliver and what are unachievable. And I think what is very important with such projects is that you always have to be a little bit more ambitious than you probably will achieve, because then the results will be more effective. In the second phase, we did a lot of testing of various technology. And I think what was good about our consortia was that we really had a flexibility to design and redesign the vehicle and to test how it works with different elements of such a system. We tested vehicle to infrastructure elements. We tested how to put to work end user app with vehicles. What are the role for mobility management system and so on. And I think the biggest learning from the phase 3 is that we all have seen this kind of small demonstrations of what the technology can achieve and what kind of services we could provide. But there is a big challenge is also to make it this kind of services work continuously. And there is, I think, a long way still to go to make this kind of solutions available. And of course, you can make a perfect plan, and then comes COVID, and you need to rethink everything, and nobody's protected from that. During 2 pilots in Tallinn and in Lamia in Greece, we in total traveled more than 3,000 kilometers. And even we had the COVID period, and there was a limited access to the service. We managed to host and offer the service to almost to more than 900 people. And what was interesting is that actually the acceptance of people of such a solution was really high. And of course, the interest of media was also quite high. But I will go into the details a little bit later. One thing what we learned also is that even so that you might have this kind of early prototype, to make from early prototype a street legal prototype, it usually means almost like reinventing the whole system. And this is again something maybe what the end users or potential customers for such systems don't understand. That basically even such shuttles, they look from outside very similar. Basically, they are redesigned from a zero. And if we talk about hardware and if we talk about infrastructure, there is a lot of tiny practical details which we need to take into account setting up such services or pilots, and they usually not seen for an end user or a service provider. What are our key learnings from these 2 pilots? As I mentioned about infrastructure, and I think it goes with all the cities where we operated and all the potential pilots we analyzed, is that actually infrastructure sets quite big limitations for existing technology, and it is quite time consuming to, even if you have let's say 100 or 50 meters of street or one crossroad which is not suitable or too risky to operate. Maybe it could happen that it is too expensive to redesign it for a pilot. So you need to very carefully to choose where you are able to operate, and if you want to set up a service, the timeline is quite long to make the changes. We were quite happy with the process of getting all the paperwork done to start the operation, and I really want to thank all our partners supporting us to get the number plates and a permit to operate. But I think the one key learning from there is that all you need to be is transparent. And even so that maybe you don't have all paperwork ready, you can start unofficial communications as early as possible, and it will make the later process much faster. And what we see also that it is not about the shuttles getting ready, but it is also a social aspect of getting drivers, human drivers, getting ready to coexist with such technologies. And it also takes time. And we learned also our lesson in Tallinn on having such an accident there. And I think this is also a thing we need to look further. We also were testing quite ambitiously the teleoperations and various cybersecurity questions. And we can say that teleoperations are doable, but still we need to invest a lot to make this wireless networks, is it the 5G or any other, that they are really stable and we can make them work properly. And the cybersecurity is a real issue of teleoperations. Then about automated driving, as we can say that there are still quite a long room for development. But I see that it will happen, and there are many things happening also right now, and the environment is changing very rapidly. What we learned also that integration of various systems is complicated because of legacy of existing systems. There are various data protocols, and even if it kind of looks on a paper very easy to do, then there are sometimes very minor details which could make it really complicated. For example, in the Estonian case, if you have only one bus stop, which is not kind of an official bus stop, but just a temporary one, then to integrate into the public transport information system, it is very complicated because the official system is connected to a certain register of bus stops, and to register there, it is again needs an application, and the process for that is quite long. But I think what to conclude is about this project. I really want to thank also the organizers of this project, that this kind of pre-procurement is a very good format to make such pilots, because we really can focus on goals, and there is inner flexibility to adjust to the reality, because to make a perfect plan and very unflexible plan in advance with such ambitious innovations is very complicated. About commercialization, we believe that the technology will become ready for larger pilots in 2 or 3 years. Commercially ready. That means there is, I think, one key aspect is when if we can have a safety person outside of the shuttle when the technology is secure enough, then such pilots will become also more commercially viable. Our consortium will focus in coming years more on piloting new functionalities instead of having more locations. And our focus is in a deeper integration with the mass transit solutions, and to think how to build the service on top of existing mass transit network. I strongly believe also that on-demand service model is something we need, and we plan to continue to test with Ülemiste City in the spring together with Auvetech. So this is one topic, and we are certainly already have made some tests, but we continue on having a solution where a safety person is taken out of the shuttle. So what to say? I think let's move on. I really want to thank you, everyone, Renske and the whole team. It has been 3 very interesting years, and I think such autonomous solutions, especially as a last mile solution, have a huge future. And if we need to continue testing it and learning how to reach to the point where we really can say that such technologies could be provided in various use cases. Is it in a business park or in suburban areas? But the future is promising. Thank you.
Hey, Pirkko, thanks a lot. That was a good story. I agree with you that this PCP model is really a good way of working together. It's also been really nice to work with Mobilis Civitatem because it's been very sort of agile. You are quite sort of young, enthusiastic, ambitious team, and it's been very, very easy to work with you these past years. I have a question from the chat. So, do you maybe want to answer? It comes from Gert Blom, who's asking that. When do you think that we're going to have the first sustainable business models? And also, what do you think would be the first use cases that make it that cause like a financially viable service?
Mm-hmm. As I gave you a hint, that according to our experience, there are. The best places are actually if to connect this kind of suburban or business parks to mass transit, and where because these areas usually they have low speed limits, and there is not this kind of very busy high speed traffic. And there is also a need if we think that we cannot build a tram station or metro station after every mile. So such a solution is a much cheaper investment to connect new office buildings or new living quarters to existing mass transit stations.
So exactly the last mile that we really tested in FABULOS.
Yes.
And
yes.
How many years for a first business case would you say?
No, as I mentioned, I think it is very much connected to. If we looked also, I think it takes, on my opinion, if we can have operator out, and I think it will happen in coming 2-3 years. Then and we can have one operator operating 2, 3, 4 shuttles. Then and if we look at how fast actually the technology is getting more affordable and more ready for a market, then I think it will happen in 2-3 years.
Thank you. Hey, unfortunately, we have to stop. But in the technical session, we'll speak with your colleague from Tallinn Technical University and with the colleague from Auvetech, which is the producer of the vehicle. So anyone interested to go more into details, then please join that session, which is the session after in the afternoon. Hey, Pirkko, we have to stop, but thank you very much. And we move on to the next consortium, and we will speak again. Thank you.
Thank you, Renske.
Good. We move to the last consortium of the 3, Sensible 4 Shuttle. So it's led by Sensible 4 from Finland, today represented by Harri Santamala, who's here in the studio. Before Harri gets the floor, again, an introductory video like we did previously. This time it's the Helsinki pilot here in Finland last spring. So enjoy, and after that, Harri.
The overall objective of the FABULOS project is to increase the attractiveness and efficiency of public transportation in our cities. And by using these type of smart and flexible autonomous solutions, we think that citizens will get better mobility services, which will help in turn to leave their private cars at home. What Fabulous looks for concretely is an all-inclusive solution that can operate fleets of these robot buses in urban environments. For example, for the last mile, which is more or less the last 2 kilometers from, for example, a bus stop or a train station. Here in Helsinki, the pilot runs in the busy area of Pasila, from the Pasila train station past the big fair center in a very crowded urban area.
The Fabulous project is important for Traficom so that we can further develop our method for evaluating future automated vehicle pilots. National authorities should have an open mind and a courage to take into account new types of mobility innovations, such as robot shuttles, in planning and furthering the future transportation regulation.
Good morning, everybody. It's really great to be here today to talk about our journey during the Fabulous project together with our consortium member as well as of course the whole Fabulous family. So I'm Harry from Sensible 4, and just to give you a quick overview before we go to the Fabulous material, we are a Finnish startup, roughly 90 people. Or 90 plus people today with few members also from abroad. We have one person in Tokyo, one in Stuttgart, and one in Copenhagen. And the company has actually been founded and grown in a very similar time frame as the Fabulous I will be explaining next. But what's really unique in our approach is, of course, we come from Finland, so we have a really terrible climate, and our sort of technical focus on as last mile software supplier is of course the all-weather capabilities, which we see as a key enabling factor for the last mile transportation whenever you are not in an optimal climate zone like Arizona, but rather on heavy tropical rain, snow and such. So let's take a quick look on the consortium. So Sensible 4 is in this project the vehicle supplier and the autonomous driving software supplier, and our friends from Spain, Shuttle, are providing the on-demand functionality and the end-use application for the users to use the solution. We are actually, if we sync with the Fabulous timeline, I've been aware of Fabulous since 2016, when I was still in Metropolia University of Applied Sciences and working in one of the early autonomous driving hype days pioneering project called Sohia. And I believe that our friends in the Helsinki city got quite excited, and that's the originating of Fabulous. And when the Fabulous project started coordinated by Helsinki, I pretty much at the same time jumped to full-time CEO of Sensible 4, and if the goal was to really establish or go towards the commercial operations, I think we've been very much following that timeline and growth path during this project. So 2019 was the first sort of technical pilot and testing experience. 2020 we were in a Pasila on the video you just seen, and 2021 currently we are in Kiesdal driving actually 22 hours per day with our fleet to meet the requirements of the officials before we can take people on board. By the way, I'm just told that should happen next week, that we have the enough hours for having people on board. We have a little bit unique approach as a software company. We also had to build a bus to participate in the Fabulous. So 2019 we were launching Gacha in Helsinki together with Japanese Muji, and Gacha is really our vision of affordable and accessible mobility for everybody equally, and it has been also one of our FABULOS vehicles during the pilots and the testing. Some technical things, of course, happened during the project, like we went to cold testing chambers. Well, obviously that wasn't a problem for us, but other tests like EMC and general performance and the self-driving system were conducted before we got the permission to go to the pilot operations. As part of our Helsinki pilot, we also first time had a real operation of our remote control center. This is the remote driver who is legally the driver of the vehicle, although we of course kept safety persons inside the vehicles observing the operations due to the pilot nature of the project. During FABULOS also first time we launched our on-demand mobility. So this is the view from the shuttle application where you could order the vehicle or spot in the vehicle so that it could pick you up from the train station and take you to the Messukeskus. The fleet of what we used in FABULOS is quite multimodal from 4 different brands and 4 different vehicles. So the Pasila pilot was, of course, led by Gacha, followed by this CM7 from Dongfeng, which is one of our long-term partners and customers from China. And we also had our everlasting cute little Renault Twizy as the technical vehicle for the testing of the remote control systems. In Kiesdal, we are operating with a little bit different fleets. We have a few of our Toyota vehicles in operation at the moment, and Twizy is also again in Kiesdal. And actually, Kiesdal is our first pilot which we as a company are operating abroad. It's also happening now in the midst of the winter in the same track where the previous consortium was driving last year. And I said, guys are now driving in 2 shifts, no matter what's the weather, to collect enough driving kilometers before we can open the service to the public. And this Kiesdal is really like a stepping stone for us. So there was a discussion about the go-to-market timeline. And for us, the timeline is that starting from 2022, we will be launching Dawn, our first commercial version of the software, and we will be also targeting on initially areas which have a still mixed traffic but more confined. So typical places where you can find our software solution integrated to our customer OEM vehicle initially would be in a sort of industrial parks or university campuses, followed by gradual rollout of the service. And of course, the end game is the fully open road condition, seamless integration of the public transportation. And that was the slide I was supposed to show. Okay, so time for the conclusion. I think really always the major challenge in pilot is really the integration. So we need to be integrated as a true part of the public transportation and offer seamless experience to the end users. That's really the essence. Of course, there's one angle of that is integration to the infrastructure and starting by having an infrastructure that's suitable for automation as well. Otherwise, you don't have a good experience for the end user, which is really what is it all about, to provide the service to the end user. End user doesn't like if the last mile service only works during summertime. So the service has especially got to be up and running when you have the heavy rain during July or endless November or proper winter like we have now. So this is exactly when you are prone to use the last mile services. And autonomous driving, finally, it provides option to have a mix of different operating modes where the on-demand operational mode can provide a true value to the customers. So that was my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harri. I will join you here. Let's see if there would be some questions from the audience. I think it was really interesting to hear from many people on the other end of the line. And it's really nice how indeed the development of your company has progressed with the development of FABULOS. And there were a lot of kind of firsts for you. Also the remote control centers that you have put up in both the sites. Can you tell maybe shortly about that, about the real like teleoperations?
So about the teleoperations. So for us, we don't really, first of all, we don't anticipate that the AI will be allowed to be a legal driver anytime soon. People are just not ready for that. So we need to have a legally responsible person. Also, we don't really believe that in a real public environment you can have a robust enough connection all the time to be able to drive the steering wheel. I know some companies do believe that, and that would be great if that can happen, but for us the approach is something between. So all the intelligence in our case is in the vehicle, but the difficult decisions are made by the person behind the screen.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see. Have next exciting pilots and projects lined up, I think also outside of Europe. So very maybe exciting news coming up from your side soon. I think for now we have to close because also we are at the end of our time slot, unfortunately. But your colleague Jussi and someone from Shuttle will join Oskar Nisin in the afternoon session on technological aspects. So also there, I think we will get a little bit deeper into your solutions and your software.
Yes. Thank you very much.